Hello, my lovely friends. My name is Rio. How do you do? Welcome back to my channel. I'm calling these videos Autism Tips and Taps. I've done like 2 other ones before, and I wanted to make a distinction because I feel like these videos I'm like giving tips, whereas my like chit chat videos are just me chatting about a topic about my life experiences. So this is going to be another autism tips and taps, and if you're new here, my name is Rue. I was diagnosed with autism in October of 2021, and sometimes I do autism videos on my channel because a lot of people seem to like them, so welcome. But today I wanted to talk about, actually hold on, I'm gonna move my mic. I wanted to make sure I'm like talking at you, not like this side. Today I wanted to talk about, like, this is going to be sort of an umbrella topic of like executive functioning sort of tips, and what I mean by that is, so I don't have a super strong understanding of executive functioning and how it works, but like so it's like the thing that allows you to like start tasks and be organized and all these things. So these are going to be sort of like organizational tips, or like things I use to stay on task, or that sort of thing is what this video is about. Because I feel like I've developed ways of doing things that work for me, so I thought I would make a video about it in case it is helpful for one of you guys. I also wanted to show you guys my shirt. It's the Cult of the Lamb. My fiance bought this for me because I was absolutely obsessed with this game, so I just wanted to show you guys. But let's stay on topic here. So the first thing I guess I will address is letting go of that it has to be perfect, I can't fail mentality, because the reason I mention this is because I've been like nervous about filming this video because I don't feel like it's going to be perfect, quote unquote, but it's never going to be perfect, and if I try to strive for that standard, it's never going to get done. So like letting go of that idea that like if you do something it has to be perfect is like monumental. So oftentimes I just make myself start a task. Like it might be really crappy, but that's okay because it's a learning experience. And even if I maybe decide like, oh, I'm not going to use this because I don't like it, I can use that experience and learn from it and use it on the next attempt. So I would encourage you to find a mindset where you can just start things and realize that it doesn't have to be perfect, and every attempt is a learning experience. And like oftentimes when I do something, it doesn't turn out bad, like it's fine. Like this video will be fine, even if it's not like the highest, like, perfection standard. I don't know, like a lot of my videos I feel like are like that, where I'm like, I don't want to film it because it's not going to be perfect, but then I just make myself sit down and do it, and it's fine. Like it's a good video and you guys like it. Like, so like learning to just start tasks, no matter if you feel prepared or not. Like obviously be as prepared as you can, but like you're never going to, it's never going to be perfect. So just learn to start. Just make yourself start. I also just wanted to do like a little disclaimer, like if these tips don't work for you, that's fine. I'm just like telling you these things, so like maybe you can implement them and they'll help you. But if they don't, that's fine. Like, because I know a lot of autistic people also have ADHD, and it's, these things are more of a struggle. So like, no worries. Like, I just wanted to say like these are not things that will work for everyone. I just wanted to talk about the things that work for me, and maybe they'll be helpful. So just wanted to give that disclaimer. The next thing I want to talk about, I like lists a lot. So I started this in 2020. I started making lists of like to-do lists every single day, and I put every little thing that I want to accomplish that day on the to-do list. But I keep it simple tasks, like for example, making my bed, or doing the dishes, or what else do I do? Doing my language app, I do that every day. Just like the things I do every single day, the normal tasks I do every day, I put on this daily to-do list, and I make it every single day when I'm drinking my coffee. Like when I get out of bed, I grab my little notebook and take it to the table, and then when I'm drinking my coffee, I write my little list. And personally, I find it very helpful and satisfying to be able to check off my to-do list, and it keeps me like on task for the day. And then I also found that like I get very easily overwhelmed by large tasks, and so putting those on my daily to-do list would often throw me off. So I started making a weekly list where I have the bigger things that I would like to get done throughout the week. So like an example of that would be like videos I want to film, or like sweeping the floors or mopping, or these are like bigger items that I'm not doing every single day, but I want to get done that week. So I usually make this list on Sunday or somewhere around the weekend. So I have like a list of like, these are things that I want to get done throughout the week, but I don't want to put on my daily to-do list because I'll get overwhelmed. And yeah, and I keep these on separate like notebook things. So on my desk I have like, I keep my weekly, it's like a notepad, I keep my weekly list, and then on top of that I have my daily list, and then I keep it out in the open so I can see it. And then as I go throughout my day, I check things off, and then if I have extra energy that day, or I'm like trying to fill time or whatever, I might do one of these bigger tasks, and then I can mark off those tasks. So that's kind of how I do that. And personally, I like to have a written list, because if it's on my phone, I will ignore it. If it's not inside, I will ignore it. And I also find that writing helps it stick better. Just for me, like the act of writing just makes things stick more in my brain. So physically, like writing lists is it's like something that's super helpful for me. So, and also with like the weekly lists, I don't hold myself to like, you absolutely have to do these things this week. Because some of them, you know, they're not super time specific. They're just like things I want to get done eventually. So if I don't complete something, I just move it to the next week, and it's not a big deal. So, and something that is on my daily to-do list that I would really recommend is making my bed every single day. And this is also something I started in 2020 when I started doing the lists, because I would put it on my list every day. But every single day I get out of bed and I make my bed. And I know it seems insignificant, which is like how I thought for most of my life, but like starting the day, like already having completed a task and just like having my bed made is just having my space organized makes my brain feel organized. And like if things are out of order and stuff, my brain feels out of order. So having my bed like clean and like tidy just makes my brain so much happier. So if you can build that habit, like it really does make a difference, like, or at least it did to me. And it's not like hard, like it takes me like 5 seconds, or at least I mean, I guess if you had a lot of bills and stuff it might take a while, but I just like throw my, blankets back tidy, whatever. I don't have a lot of things to fix, so it doesn't take long for me, but it just kind of like sets the tone for the day, like you already did something. Your room feels tidier, like, yeah, I don't know, it's just a good little habit to have, and like I don't even think about it anymore. It's just like something I do, and like bonus points, you get to check something off your list immediately. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was combining tasks or like linking tasks. So to give you an example, I do a language learning app every single day, and so in order to remember to do this, I do it every single day when I'm using the bathroom. So every single morning when I go to use the bathroom, I also do my language learning app. So that's something I do every single day. And now it's just like those two things are linked. So when I go to the bathroom in the morning, I always do my language learning. So that always gets done. And then I also get to check it off my list, though. But like also you could do, like, if you struggle to brush your teeth, perhaps you could put your toothbrush and toothpaste into the shower, and when you take a shower you can brush your teeth. That's not something I struggle with, but like I know other people who do that. So if that's something that would help you, then do that. And like for cleaning, I will often like use the time where I'm cleaning to like listen to a podcast or music or whatever. So it feels like I'm multitasking, like I'm getting more done. I'm learning something or like jamming out or whatever while I'm cleaning. So I'm like linking those two tasks, and it also makes cleaning more appealing to me because it's like, oh, I get to listen to a podcast while I clean. And sometimes I do the same thing, like if I want to go out for a walk but I'm not like super motivated to go for a walk, I'll be like, well, you can listen to this podcast while you go for a walk. So like you can pair less pleasant tasks with something that's pleasant, so it can have more of a positive connotation in your mind. So like this is something I do pretty often, like if I'm doing something that doesn't take my entire attention, like maybe I'm cooking something on the stove. What can I do at the same time as cooking on the stove? Or like, I don't know, like if you take meds every morning, maybe you could link it to something else you do every single morning. Just like things like that. Linking things that you want to get done to things that you already do every day is kind of what I'm getting at. Because then in your brain they're kind of together and you're gonna do them, and it's easier to form a habit, if that makes sense. Okay, the next one I feel like is a really big one. Get rid of arbitrary rules. Like there's a lot of like, I feel like societal, social expectations that we internalize, but they're like rules that you don't need to follow. For example, say you struggle with showering, and like the act of standing up in a shower is too much for you. Get like a bench to sit on in the shower. Like that's fine. If it makes it easier for you to do it, do that thing. Like you don't need to follow these arbitrary rules. Stop like making rules for yourself because it makes things more difficult. Or like I've seen this example online, like someone finds the task of like rinsing their dishes off before they put them in the dishwasher to be overwhelming, so their dishes would pile up. And so their therapist was like, well, why don't you just put them in the dishwasher and run it twice? And they're like, well, I can't do that. That's, I can't do that. And the therapist is like, well, why not? And like, it's these like arbitrary rules we give ourselves that make our lives harder, but you don't have to do them. Like, you can find your own way to do stuff that's easier for you. So like, instead of letting these dishes pile up, she could just put them in the dishwasher and run it twice, so they get rinsed and they get cleaned and the dishes get done. Like, it doesn't matter how she did them, she did the dishes. So like, getting rid of these rules that we follow that don't make sense for us. One that I struggle with sometimes is when I want to work out, I will often be like, well, I have to change into my workout clothes. And I often like struggle with, like, I don't like changing clothes. For some reason, like, it just feels like a really big task. And so I wouldn't work out because I'd be like, well, I have to change clothes. And I can't do that. And so I started just being like, well, do you have to change clothes? Like, could you just wear what you're wearing and work out? And I was like, well, yeah, like I can. Maybe it's not the best, but like it gets it done, So like getting rid of these rules so that you can just get it done is just like life-changing. And so like, I feel like we have this sort of all or nothing mindset. So like, getting something done, like even if it's not full effort, is better than not doing it all. So like, if you struggle with taking showers, perhaps it's easier for you to use wipes like a day or two or whatever. Like, do that. It's not a big deal. Maybe it's not as good as the thing, but if you're not able to do the thing, like, something is better than nothing. So like, get rid of those rules, get rid of the all or nothing mindset, find the ways that work for you, find the accommodations that work for you, and just do them. Like, you don't have to follow those social rules that everyone else follows. They're not real. We made them up. Like, you can make your own rules. So yeah, that's really big, really important. Like, try to identify those like arbitrary rules you're following and like get rid of them. Like, make your own, Something that I really struggle with is getting stuck on my phone, and I think this is a problem that a lot of us have. Something I would suggest downloading on your phone is the Forest app, because when I get stuck in these scrolling, like flipping between apps, like I don't even care what I'm looking at, you're just like stuck, and I will turn on this app and then I can't use my phone because, hello there, if you're wondering why the camera angle changed, it's because I was interrupted by a man with a chainsaw yesterday, so this is day 2. But anyways, I think the last thing I was talking about was phone usage and like getting stuck in that like scrolling cycle. So I use the Forest app because if I feel like I'm out of control or something, I can just like switch that on, and then I can't use my phone for like the next 10 minutes because I'll have a dead tree in my forest, and I don't want a dead tree in my forest. So it's a nice little way to trick your brain into like switching off, like switching that scrolling cycle off. And then I've been really, really good about keeping my phone on my desk during the day and like not touching it at all. Like, literally most of the day, like I'll give myself, a few minutes to like check my notifications or something, but then done. And like, that sounds extreme. Like, my brain wants to think it's extreme, but like, I lived in a time when cell phones and social media didn't exist, and like, I was fine. Like, why can't I do that now? So that's kind of the tactic I've been taking. because it's just really, really bad for my mental health. And I've also been not going directly to my phone in the mornings when I wake up, because I think, like a lot of people, when I would wake up, I would grab my phone and start scrolling, you know, that's just like what you do. But I actually watched a YouTube video, and this person was doing this, where they wouldn't use their phone first thing in the morning, and they would just like wake up basically, you know. And I was like, well, that's a really good idea actually. So when I wake up in the morning, I kind of just wake up. I'll like turn on my light and just kind of like look around and just sort of let my body wake up without this like jarring light in my face, like phone screen, you know. And then I don't check like notifications or anything until after I've like had my breakfast and stuff. So like while I'm eating and having my coffee and stuff, I do the Wordle. So I start with like the Wordle, and then once I solve the Wordle, I have this game on my phone that's called Dots. So it's like a puzzle game sort of. So I feel like that's better than just mindless scrolling. Like I'm doing something that's using my brain. And then like after I'm done with all that, I will go through and check notifications and see if there's anything important, and then I put it away. But yeah, that's been super helpful, because you don't realize how much time you waste scrolling on your phone. Like, it's such a modern problem, but like I wasted so much time, and like now that I'm actively trying to not be on my phone all the time, I am replacing that with other activities that are much more what's the word, like they have a lot more reward for my brain. Like I've been watercoloring and like cross stitching and reading. I've read a lot of books so far this year, and I'm so happy about it. Like, it's so nice to be reading again, and just like it's like I'm living in the time before cell phones, and like, because it's like that's how it's not like I haven't done this before. Like, I lived in a time before cell phones, so it's like I'm just doing the things that I used to do instead, you know? And it's a lot better for my brain. Like, I'm so much happier, so much more relaxed, so much calmer. And I know this. Like, I already knew this, but it's just so hard to break that cycle. It's like, oh, a horrible addiction. But then once I do it, like, I'm so much happier. And it's just like I have to almost like tough love myself into it, because I know it's good for me. I know it's better for me, and when I do it, I'm happier and more fulfilled. But it's just like so hard to break that habit. So the Forest app is really helpful with like that initial break. Like when you don't have the willpower to do it yourself, you can turn on that app and be like, okay, I can't touch my phone now. And I often find like once I cut that contact, like it's a lot easier to go like hours without it. So that app is great for that. If you're struggling with phone usage. This video might be really long. I have a lot of notes. Like, I took notes that I'm sort of reading from, and I'm like still have a lot left. So anyways, I think the next thing I want to talk about is like home organization, keeping your spaces clean and stuff, because this is something that I have learned to do, and it keeps me a lot happier, because like I said before, my brain likes a organized space. Like, I don't like a lot of clutter sitting around, or like things being out of place, because it just makes me feel very like frazzled. But for the longest time I struggled with cleaning and such, especially when I was a teenager. It was really bad. Like, my room would just devolve into this horrible mess, and then I would all of a sudden get the energy and like obsessively clean it, and it would look really great, and then it would slowly devolve back to where it was. So what I learned is I have to organize my space in a way that every item has a home, like a specific space it needs to be. And then when I use that item, it goes directly back as soon as I'm done. And this is a hard habit to build if you're not used to it. But like, I am 31 years old, and I feel like I've kind of very slowly built this over, my 20s. And right, like now, like it's not even a big deal. I just do it. But I would say initially I probably had to make myself do it. And you're not going to be perfect all the time. So like, don't be hard on yourself. But like, it's just, that's how I keep clean. Everything has a place. And when I'm done, if I use the item, when I'm done, I put it back immediately. Don't be like, oh, I'll do it later. You won't do it later. And then that's how things sort of pile up, So as soon as you're done, make yourself put the item back where it goes, in its home. And it takes years to build this because first you have to organize everything and find a home for everything, and that takes a lot of time. So the way that I like to sort of clean and organize is I'll do like one thing at a time. Like I'll do a drawer one day and organize it. Everything in there has a home. And then maybe I'll do like my desk, like the top of my desk, make sure everything has a home. And then maybe one day you'll do your closet, make sure everything is in a home. The closet is hard. I just organized my closet last week, and it's so much better. But yeah, and then laundry is a difficult one. That took me a while to make myself get into a habit. So I do my laundry every single week on the same day, and if I do it every single week, it's a load, just one load every week. And I find it easy to like the switching from the washer to the dryer is not hard for me, but the folding is the hard part. So I kind of had to just like, again, tough love myself into like, if I do laundry, I have to fold it like the same day or the next day. Sometimes I'll just like let it sit for a day. But as soon as I take it out of the dryer, it's getting folded. And that's like the expectation that I know now. If I take the clothes out of the dryer, I'm folding them, period. I don't leave it sitting somewhere. I don't make piles of clothes. Like, you're folding it. Like, it's like I have to tough love myself. That's the rule. That's what you're doing. So laundry has been pretty good. I'm pretty good about it. And like my clothes all have a space where they need to go. Like certain ones get hung up, certain ones get folded, and I know which ones go where. And yeah, it's pretty good. Because that was a big problem. Like clothes can be very easy to make a mess with, So, but I also heard this tip from someone who has ADHD on this podcast, and they were saying when they do laundry, they leave the laundry basket in like a place where they will see it, like on their dining room table or something, and then when they're going about their day, they'll see the basket and be like, oh, I need to swap my laundry over. So maybe that's a tip for you. But yeah, so like the way I stay organized is all my items have a home and they go back to their home immediately. If I have stuff that doesn't have a home that I don't need, I get rid of it. Like, I'm often like going through and organizing things and being like, okay, I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna donate it. Or throw it away, whatever. So yeah, it's a constant work in progress. So like, you're not gonna do this overnight. It will probably take years, but it is really, really helpful if you can get yourself to do this. Like, it's the way that I keep my spaces organized, and it makes my brain very happy. So, and then the other thing, or the next thing I wanted to talk about is starting tasks, because I know this can be very difficult. So if you're wanting to do something, break it down into the smallest of steps. Like, say I want to take a shower, but all of the steps involved are overwhelming to me. What I would do is say, okay, what is the absolute first thing I have to do in order to make this happen? And that's the only thing I'll focus on. Don't think about the rest. So, what is the first thing I have to do? I'm laying on the couch right now. Okay, I have to stand up. So that's the first thing. I stand up. Oh wow, I stood up. Okay. Now I have a little more motivation to do the next step. What's the next step? So I'll, go into the bathroom and get my shower running. And then, I don't know, like once I starting is the hardest part. Once you start, do the first step, it's a lot easier to follow through with what you need to follow through with. Or at least that's how I am. So what I'm saying is break the task down into literally the simplest steps possible and just focus on that first step. That's the only thing you have to do. That's the only thing. And like often, it's like I'll tell myself, well, if you do this and you still don't feel like doing it afterwards, you don't have to. But like once I do the first step, I'm pretty much going to follow through. That's just like how I work, I guess. It's just like getting that momentum and like switching tasks. I guess that's the hard part. Or maybe you can even eliminate steps that are unnecessary. For example, like if I want to work out, I think I already mentioned this earlier, but like I'll often get stuck on the I have to change clothes part. So if I cut that step out, it becomes easier to do the task. So if you can cut out an unnecessary step, that could be helpful as well. Or like if I'm wanting to work out, I will go in and set up the room for, say I want to do yoga, I'll move my table and put my yoga mat out and all of that stuff. And then once I'm doing that, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start. Like, it's just the starting the task that's hard. And again, it's kind of almost a tough love thing. It's like making yourself do it. I know it's really hard. But like after you do it for a while, it does get easier. And again, like I often don't pressure myself into continuing the task. It's just like you're doing this one thing, and if you feel like doing more after that, that's awesome. But you don't have to. You just have to do this one step. That's all I'm asking of you. But then, it's just like a psychological trick. Like once I start, I'm gonna do it. Like so it's that's kind of how I try to start things that I feel like are overwhelming. Or like if I want to watercolor, like often setting up, like I don't know why it's hard to start stuff. So like I'll be like, okay, well I have to stand up first. So stand up, go to my room, get out my watercolor paint. Okay, what do I have to do next? I need to fill up my waters. And then like once I start, it's like, okay, this is great. So yeah, just break it down into the very simplest of steps and then just do the first one. And then you probably will want to continue, but if you don't, that's okay too. So I also have a whole tab of just food prep, eating, because I feel like there is a pressure to cook every week and have these really nice meals. And like I just wanted to say, like, you don't have to do that. Like over the past few years I was in like really, really bad burnout, and I did not have the energy to expend on cooking. And so I would say I didn't use an oven for like at least a year, maybe more, probably more. I would have microwavable foods, or I also like snack foods like crackers with whatever you want on top. I do peanut butter crackers, or you do like cheese crackers, whatever. Like very easy things to eat that are very easily accessible. So like I would often have just like a variety of these little things that I know I like to eat. And I do eat the same thing for breakfast every day. So that's like very easy there. But like I'll have chicken nuggets, vegan chicken nuggets. I eat those all the time. I always have crackers with various toppings, chips and dip like guacamole or salsa or whatever. Just like various very, very easy like one-step meals, because I just did not have the energy to do more than that. And I knew that, so I accommodated for that. And like I was fine. Like I was well nourished. I made sure, I was getting protein because protein will keep you full longer. And yeah, like, get a multivitamin if you're concerned about getting your nutrients. I just got one for myself. Like, don't let anyone make you feel bad for eating that way. The other thing is when I cook, like, I only cook simple meals. Things with very few ingredients, very few steps. Because just recipes that require a lot of steps and work just aren't worth the outcome. Like, the pros don't outweigh the negatives for me. So I keep it very, very simple. And over the years, I've kind of figured out certain recipes or like meals that I like to eat a lot. And so I kind of just like cycle through the things that I like to eat all the time. And that's the other thing. Like, you can eat the same thing over and over again. Like, it's not a big deal. You don't have to like constantly be eating new stuff. So find the things you like. Find the things that are easy for you to make. Keep doing it. Like, don't overcomplicate it. Like, it's okay if all your food is microwavable or snack food. Like, it doesn't matter. Again, the rules are made up. You can make your own rules. You are feeding your body, and that's all that matters. All food is good food. Food doesn't have moral value. You're doing great. And then my last little bullet point I wanted to talk about is kind of a big one, but it's sort of how I go about my life. Simplify your life as much as you possibly can. And what I mean by that, like, so look at the things that you're doing in your life and ask yourself, why are you doing those things? Is this thing necessary? Is it expending more energy than it's worth? Do the cons of doing this outweigh the positives? And sort of like evaluate the things that you're doing in your day-to-day life and figure out which of these I actually do not need to do. Where can I save energy? So just as a very simple example, makeup was a big energy expender for me, and I don't care about makeup. I don't care about the way I look. I was doing it for other people or like the social standard, and that's not worth it for me. So I cut it out and I don't do it anymore. And that's a little bit of energy I save. Or like my hair. Like, I cut all my hair off because the amount of energy I would spend trying to make my hair look nice, or like even just putting it in a pigtail, that's energy I expend that I don't need to expend. So I cut it all off, and like that's energy I'm saving to put into something else. Or even like bigger things. Like, I'm trying to think of something. Like, say you're I don't know, attending a social club every week or something. Ask yourself why you're doing this. Are you benefiting from it more than it's taking away from you? Do you need to do it? And if it's taking away more energy than it's like adding benefit to your life, maybe you should quit it. Like, I have to keep my life very, very simple, or I become overwhelmed very easily. But that's kind of how I view things in my life. Like, is this thing necessary? Is it adding value to my life? Is it worth the stress? Is it worth the energy I expend? And if, I decide that it's not, then I just get rid of it. Simple as that. It doesn't matter if it's not normal, quote unquote, or like if I'm not meeting a social standard or whatever. If it doesn't make sense for my life, then I just don't do it. And that's kind of that's how I view most things in my life, and that's how I keep my life simple. So I'm constantly evaluating, the things I'm doing and being like, does this make sense for me? Am I just doing this for other people? Etc., etc. Like social things are a big one for me because they take so much energy. So often I don't go to social things. And that's what makes sense for me. Every now and again, if I feel good and I'm like, well, I have a little extra energy, like I'll go to a little social thing or whatever. But mostly I kind of just do my own thing and take care of myself. And maybe my life looks a little abnormal to some people, but it works for me, and that's all that matters. Keeps me sane. So, yeah, simplify. Like, that's just the way my brain works, is like the more things I have to think about or like divide my attention to, the chances of me like being overwhelmed and breaking down increase. The more demands I have, that threshold is gonna increase or decrease. Decrease. So I try to keep my life as simple as possible. That's how I like it. I don't like having my energy and attention divided in multiple directions. So if there's anything in my life I can cut out, it gets cut out. So even if it's unconventional, like, it works for me. So anyways, that's the list I wrote out. I hope it was helpful. I hope it made sense. Like, I feel like I was all over the place and I had to like film this on a second day and but again, done is better than perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. So I'm practicing what I preach, okay? There's somebody who just started a machine out there, so we're gonna end the video. I appreciate you guys being here and hanging out. I hope these tips were somewhat helpful. If you have tips, leave them in the comments. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in my next video, okay?